Hello, it's me again, and I would like to invite you to an extremely interesting panel about circular economy. It's a new movement, and we will find out what are the opportunities for the companies in that trend. I would like to introduce you to Karolina Woźniak. She's the PR manager at TooGoodToGo. Lukasz Mrowinski, the CEO and co-founder of ETNO Cafe. By the way, they created this special coffee corner for all of you. And Diana Florescu, she's the head of marketing at Wyra UK, but you already know that because she has already moderated a panel. So I would like to welcome our speakers on stage. Hello. Yes, so please take your seats. Over to you.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Monica, and welcome back. This is a topic that is very, very close to my heart. I think circular economy has gained a lot of recognition in the last few years. And I just want to really get started without probably any further introduction Monica already gave us. And I want to approach first Lukasz to tell us about ETNO. You started ETNO in 2012. Yes. And it's probably by now one of the largest artisan coffee houses in Poland. And you've done also really, really amazing things from a sustainability perspective. Tell us a bit more how that journey started for you and how you're looking into sustainability in your company.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Yes, that's true that we started in 2012, but we started as a green coffee importer and the roastery. So we are well known from our coffee shops, the 26 of them, but actually we have a big roastery at the background and also cold brewery. Cold brewery, this is what probably bring us to this place, because in 2014 we started our cold brew coffee adventure because of the observation of US market, when the cold brew were starting to be very famous cold brew. Actually, we started to do first attempt with cold brew production in Poland in 2013, but it was a roller coaster. Sometimes it was very successful, sometimes it was awful. So we decided to join forces with Wrocław University of Life and Environmental Science. And we made R&D project for 1.5 years, and the result of that project was technology and also recipes of doing cold brew. But doing cold brew is brewing coffee without hot temperature, and the result is a lot of coffee waste. So you can see how many grand waste coffee is as a result of that project when you see the final stage of the production. In coffee shop, this is hidden somewhere under the table, and nobody is seeing just in the front of the public. So we said that there is a lot of hidden material probably in this coffee, and we started another R&D project with university, and the main goal of that project was to reveal what can we do with that substantial, because there is a lot of antioxidants, many bioactive ingredients that can be used in cosmetic industry and also in diet industry. So it should be developed somehow, but also it needs some big scale, because when we do it on the laboratory scale, we can do everything. But from the perspective of business, we have to see if there is a potential in developing that topic from business perspective, because coffee has many potentials that can be used in many industries, but this is very challenging to use it in the big scale.
Absolutely, and I think we would like to come back to that. I think there's some interesting startups in the market right now doing really interesting things with coffee waste, but also other waste at a bigger scale. Speaking about waste, TooGoodToGo, I was talking to Karolina behind stage. It's an app that I use personally. I used it first in London. I absolutely love the topic. I think especially in the UK, there's probably that much food waste to fill up 4 double-decker buses every year. It's a huge problem. How it all started with TooGoodToGo. I know it goes back 2016, but what's the approach of the company? I mean, you're saving so many meals on a yearly basis.
Hello. So, well, it all started in 2016 in Denmark, where actually the app was created because of a need. Basically, 3 guys were sitting in one of the Danish restaurants seeing that at the end of the day, a lot of delicious food is just being thrown away. So luckily they were IT guys, so what they could come up with, it was an application. So that's how it all started. We've created an application that we were hoping that will be a tool to fight one of the biggest issues we have in the 21st century, and that is a food waste. And luckily, I may say that indeed it is a revolutionary app that actually is having a lot of impact. So just by numbers, we already saved 46 million of meals in just 4 years. But to be frank, the issue is really big, and it's like 1/3 of the whole food produced in the world is being thrown away. So there is still a big challenge ahead. But what we see is that, especially after COVID, a lot changed. So I believe we'll also discuss this later, but now, especially for restaurants owners, coffee shop owners, grocery stores, etc., it's really important to see where not only food is wasted, but where also money is wasted and how we can prevent it.
Yes, it's really hard to predict exactly the actual footfall in restaurants right now. And it's interesting because having you here on the panel, if we look at circular economy across the value chain, so with TooGoodToGo, it's, I guess, trying to address the pain point when the food has already been produced, right? And it goes almost towards the end when it's actually ready to sell. With Lukasz, your company, your ETNO coffee, you are almost... You could even positioning right at the end or right at the beginning of the value chain, creating something new from the waste. There's also, when it comes to waste, probably the biggest it happens in households. And I think it all comes down to people's perception and changing and challenging people to take some small steps. What I'm curious, Lukasz, I've looked at also your packaging with ETNO Coffee. You've taken some really interesting approaches to changing the packaging. Do you want to tell us a bit more about that and how is that responding to consumers?
Okay, I would like also to mention one thing about the whole circular economy in coffee world, because this is a very, very wide topic and it can be taken from different perspectives, because it covers the whole supply chain from bean to cup, from the coffee farm until the end user. So, and there are many, many layers, and also there are many perspectives. So sometimes we feel that we are doing something good, but actually it is not so good when we are taking the wider perspective. For example, it can be with glass bottles. The glass bottles that we use for cold brew are recyclable, but the main challenge is how to collect them, to recycle them. Until we are not collecting them, they are thrown to the bin. So someone probably will collect them at the station, at the main point of collecting garbage. But this is very, very hard to predict what's going to happen with those bottles. So we wish to have the point of collection and to recycle that bottles, but we counted the cost of transportation and logistics around that process, and this is very, very, very expensive, and also it put the big carbon footprint at the whole process. So talking about circular economy, we have to balance the costs that are revealed and the costs that are hidden somewhere at the background, because sometimes it is seemed as very good from the ecological perspective, but it's not, because there are some hidden costs, some hidden processes that are much more worse than the previous one. In case of a glass bottle, it is good because they can be recyclable, but we wish to have logistic that would help us to collect them and to reuse them. But this is a very tricky issue. So this is the same about the coffee packaging, because it has to be done the kind of consensus between us and the customers, because the coffee is very vulnerable product in terms of being stable. So coffee, when it's not fresh, is stale and is becoming stale and is awful after a couple of months if it is not stored correctly. So the package helps to maintain the right freshness of the coffee and the right scope of the aromas and flavors. So in order to do that, we have to use the coffee bags that are made of different layers. For example, aluminum and also polyurethane, so PET, and they are connected. So from the environmental perspective, this kind of package is not good, because it is very difficult to be recycled on the other stages of the whole supply chain. Of course, there are some tissues, some materials that can be used in packaging that are biodegradable or even compostable. But the barrier between the coffee and the air that is making that coffee stale is not sufficient to meet the requirements from the customers. And when you start to put your coffee into compostable packaging, people, when get the coffee that is, I don't know, two months old, are claiming that this coffee is not fresh, because there is no enough barrier between the coffee and the air. So this is a big challenge for us to deliver always a fresh coffee. We are doing our best to make it possible, but not in every case it is possible. Yeah. So this is kind of
it's balancing. It's a lot of balancing. That's absolutely right. And I think it's so challenging because there's so much eyeballs right now from consumers and so much pressure on retailers to do their best for that to happen. And I think with TooGoodToGo as well, I'm curious, what sort of challenge have you experienced in terms of trying to push people to go beyond any sort of misconception, because at the end of the day, it's about saving food. And maybe that food might not be in the most presentable way. And that should not really matter, right? What matters is that you want to avoid having that ending up in the landfill. How have you sort of tackled that journey all the way through to change people's perception?
Well, definitely it's something that we sort of covered by giving people the surprise aspect. So basically, you don't know what you will get in the package you receive from TooGoodToGo. You sort of know, because each of the store or places have the description that you may have either a sandwich or a cake or a dish, but you never know exactly what that will be. So there is sort of surprise hunting in this included, but definitely we should start perceiving food as something as the most valuable thing we have from Earth. But unfortunately, we as consumers are sort of used to the perfect looks, the perfect taste, and that's how we are wasting a lot of food, because quite often big chains do not buy from farmers who do not provide the perfect quality. And what happens with that food? It's been wasted. It either is left on fields because no one will pay to collect it, or it just goes. probably the best of the worst case scenarios is when it goes to be given to animals as food for animals. So that probably is the best of the worst cases. But actually everything that is produced should end up on our plates. That's what we are what we would love to see in this world. It's probably the weirdest issue we have, the food waste, because it's not the case that we do not produce enough food. No, we produce way too much food to feed absolutely everyone in this world, but we still happen to have hunger and we still happen to have food waste these days. So these are the issues we would like to tackle, not only by app, because app is not everything. We have to inform people, we have to educate them. We have by we, I mean everyone, basically. Every person who is aware of a food waste has quite a huge challenge. We have to change the way the people perceive food. It doesn't have to be the prettiest carrot. It's enough that it's tasty and it's good for your body, and it's been produced, so its job is to end up on your plate.
True. And I think luckily we've seen a lot of really interesting startups coming more on the market with all sorts of ideas, including probably picking up wonky fruits and vegetables and delivering them. Food tech as an industry, it's probably one of the most exciting. I think right now we can probably make food out of thin air using graphene and technical advances. So it's absolutely fantastic. But also this industry, coffee industry too, it's probably not remaining untouched due to COVID. I think in Davos in January this year, there's a lot of talks about this as being the decade of action. There was a lot of headlights on SDGs and sustainability. It sort of left the headlines because of COVID. What do you think is going to happen in the years to come? Do you think COVID is accelerating the pace of making more advancements when it comes to sustainability, especially in food, or is actually hindering that acceleration?
What we noticed during the COVID as the company taking care of food, we sort of started to gaining back the respect towards food, because we had this feeling that it might not be available as easily as before. We all remember how it was during the lockdown, that it was really difficult. We had to line up to stores. It was something unusual at that moment. We started cooking at home, just inventing new recipes, so on and so forth. But actually, like a few months later, and everything went back to old tracks. So it's really difficult to say if actually the pandemic made such an impact on our behaviors and what we are used to do. But definitely it's something worth looking at, because it will be changing. Because I'm really sad to think that probably we will see next waves of pandemic, and probably the situation will change in a few months. But it's the issue that we are seeing, that it didn't change that much, meaning we bought a lot of food, we threw away a lot of food. However, the situation changed for business owners. Everyone is looking at the money completely differently. We want to make sure that we do not waste too much money unnecessarily. And fighting food waste is actually how we save the money.
What about you, Lukasz? How have priorities?
I would completely agree with Karolina that the mental change is the most important thing that we can figure out from lockdown time, because people started to think about how to use, not all the people, but there are some group of people that started to think how we can use some objects that we are using on a daily basis. For example, we were kidding at the background about the plastic bottle. So the plastic bottle is not bad as the plastic bottle, not itself, but how we use it. Because we should use it as many times as possible, and then we are not wasting the goods in general. So if we can use that bottle for many times, this is kind of circular economy. Of course, it would be better if it would be the glass bottle, but the plastic bottle can be also used if there is kind of a repeatable behavior from our side. And also there are a lot of initiative in coffee industry worldwide, not only in Poland, in which we can observe reusing of different elements from the coffee shops, from the coffee industry. For example, because of the cost perspective, the owners of the coffee shops started to think what we can do with the elements of our daily business that normally we were accustomed to throw it away, but we can use it in a completely different way. And there are many perspectives, and there are new initiatives. And also, this is, I think, the accelerator of the processes that happened during the last year. Because if we focus on coffee grounds, waste coffee grounds, there are a lot of initiative from doing the new cup using the waste coffee grounds, to making pellets, to taking bio oil or some bioactive ingredients from coffee waste. And also there are some initiative about matching coffee grounds with kind of plastic tissue in order to make completely new fabric. So there are a lot of initiatives, and I think that the lockdown time, the time that has happened in the spring in Poland, but is happening right now in the whole world, is kind of accelerating of the process of changing the mentality of reusing common objects that we use.
I think you actually answered my last question about what sort of emerging trends are we going to see in the sector. Would you like to add anything, Karolina, on that topic? Anything that, maybe any other apps or startups that you've seen in the same space that maybe could actually be potential partners for TooGoodToGo? I think in these times there are extensive potential for collaboration in this sector.
I would say that these days we have so many possibilities to address really huge issues, like for instance food waste, that is just a pity not to use them. Like, it doesn't have to be TooGoodToGo, which is super easy to use, by the way, and I strongly recommend just trying to surprise yourself. But we are such a creative species that basically I believe that together, when we team up, when we bring our great minds together, we can definitely address the issues. And there's, although not so much time, we don't have that much time at the moment, but we still can do it, I believe.
Perfect. Thank you so much for joining. I'm looking forward to seeing ETNO on TooGoodToGo as well. I think it's going to be a matter of time. Thank you so much. We just ran out of time. But thank you all for watching, and we'll be back with another panel very soon.
Thank you.